Alright, let's try this. Take two. Back with an update. Just want to say that I've been reading all the comments that you guys have been leaving, and they are really, really touching. It's really amazing to see how supportive complete strangers can be to complete strangers, and it's it's wild how many people are on a similar journey or who have been in similar shoes, and it's just I don't really have words for it right now, but I really appreciate it, and um, some of those comments hit me at interesting times. So one of the comments was straight up, "Did you relapse, bro?" And yeah, so I had 16 days with no kratom use, and then I went on vacation for Christmas holidays, and my streak came to an end. But it's not all bad. Um, Essentially, I broke my 16-day streak. I used kratom for 4 days in a row, and then I had 2 or 3 days where I didn't use again, and then used it for 3 days, and then stopped for another 3 days, and then used for 3 days again. Something like that. I haven't been keeping exact track, but uh, yeah, so I'm just going to dive into that and kind of talk about how that's been, and what I've learned and where I'm at right now. And then I do want to say that I don't know if I've said this before, but moving into the future, one of my goals is to continue making YouTube videos, if for nothing else other than to practice speaking to a camera and to express my ideas and to talk about the things that I love and enjoy, and to hopefully help and inspire people in those categories and whatnot. But anyway, so just kind of a brief overview of how we got to this place. I had 16 days of no kratom use, and that 16 days I tapered down to a very small dose leading up to those 16 days, using crushed leaf tea, and that seemed to work really well for the acute withdrawal symptoms. So when I did finally jump off and stop taking kratom, the acute withdrawals were not too bad for about 3 days, and then things kind of got a little bit better. I talk about it in, I think, my last video. But after those initial acute withdrawals, for the rest of those 16 days, I was kind of left with just this lagging feeling, like this lagging, really poor mood, poor brain function, brain fog. Just felt generally really shitty, and I know it was only 16 days. Need to give it a lot more than that. But that was just kind of wearing on me. Because in the past, when I have quit kratom, which I've done several times, usually after 5, 6, 7 days, that cloud lifts quite significantly, and I kind of bounce back to what I would call my normal self. So after 16 days, I was still feeling pretty off, and part of me thinks that may have been because of the crush leaf, where in the past I would quit from the powder form, and the powder form is a bit more potent and a bit more intense, and it almost seems like the faster your cold turkey is, or the more intense your cold turkey is, obviously the harsher the withdrawals are, but the faster you bounce back. But it also could have been just life and work stress, because I was really looking forward to my Christmas holidays and having time off. I was really in need of a break. But anyway, so I went back home to see family and friends for a couple weeks over the holidays. I have no excuses for why I used. I just wanted to, and just it was that throwing my progress to the wind, and I can't think of the words right now. Spontaneous lack of willpower. I just wanted to feel relaxed and feel good, and so I did. And so that first day, for the first 4 days, I only used once a day. And the first one, it was like quite a subtle experience, which is how I find kratom to be on the first time when you use it. It doesn't even feel like a drug necessarily. It doesn't really feel like a high. It's a very insidious kind of, you don't realize that it's the crack, and it plays itself off as kind of a benign, mild little buzz that just kind of takes the weight off the shoulders a little bit and relaxes a little bit and boosts the mood a little bit, almost to the point where you don't even feel like you took anything. You just feel kind of normal and content. And the next day I woke up and I felt fine. I didn't think about kratom at all until later in the day. And again, that's kind of the wolf in sheep's clothing thing about it. It doesn't, I don't take it to get high. I take it to function better. And anyway, so I ended up taking it the second day later in the afternoon, and it felt good. It felt great. It was that pleasant kratom buzz feeling that came back. And the third day, I woke up and again I didn't feel hungover. I didn't feel like I had taken a drug the day before, but the idea of taking kratom crept into my mind a little bit earlier in the day. And I think I had some around 11 o'clock in the morning or so. Again, just 1 teaspoon once for the whole day. Took it and felt a mild buzz and didn't really think about it throughout the rest of the day. Had a great sleep, all that. Then the fourth day, I woke up and it was like all the negative effects of the kratom just hit. I woke up, I was in a terrible mood, just felt crummy, real lack of motivation to get up and get moving, and didn't want to see anybody, didn't want to talk to anybody, just agitated, and really wanted to take some kratom because I knew that, or I assumed that would make me feel better, even though I was well aware in my mind, I'm telling myself this is the trap that Kratom sets, and I've been here before and I know better, and I should just stop while I'm ahead. And I battled with my mind for a better part of that day, and it was a battle, like knowing that I would feel guilty, knowing that I'm going down the wrong path, knowing that I'm still ahead of the curve. I can just stop now and maybe have this whole day where I feel like shit, but then probably bounce back. And so I pushed off and pushed off, and then I ended up caving later in that day, and kind of assuming that, you know, I'll take some and feel better pretty much instantly. So I took another teaspoon and didn't feel better at all. It felt like it didn't do anything. And that's another reminder of the red flags of Kratom. The tolerance builds up really, really quickly. So after only 3 days of use, my tolerance had gone to the point where my initial dose does absolutely nothing. And I assume it's because I've abused Kratom for long periods of time throughout the past. I don't know if well, that's not the way it is when you first start using Kratom. When I first started using Kratom, I was able to keep my dose pretty much the same for a year or more. But every time that I go back to using Kratom, the magic fades faster and faster, and the come down and the withdrawals come faster and faster, and the tolerance goes up faster and faster. And so day 5, and again, I'm not exact on this, but day 5, day 6, and day 7, I didn't have any Kratom, and it actually wasn't too bad. Like, I didn't feel 100%, I didn't feel great, but I wasn't really going through withdrawals. But then I used for another 3 days on, and then another 3 days off. And that second period of having 3 days off, I felt pretty crappy. Again, not the full-on withdrawals, but I had really low energy. I felt really lethargic. I felt super unmotivated, kind of sad, just my body felt pretty shitty. And it's funny because on the 3rd day, without taking any, I went for a long hike, had a huge amount of anxiety because of outside factors, other things going on in my life. But then after that hike, I just felt the anxiety come down, and it really felt like I had worked through those mild withdrawals, and I had worked through the anxiety, and I in hindsight, of course, hindsight's 2020, should have cut it off there, but got some more Kratom and used it for another 3 days. And again, the day 1 felt good, felt normal, felt those usual Kratom feelings of contentment and whatnot. And then by the 2nd and 3rd day, it really shifted back into kind of just trying to feel normal. And that's where I'm, catching myself. And this whole time, it was very much, I was like fighting demons in my mind. Like, there's one demon dog, like just barking and biting at my ear and saying like, just take some more, just keep using it. Maybe you're better to just stay on the kratom and continue taking it. Oh, you could just take small amounts, a little bit every day, and you'll be good. Just take enough to feel normal. You don't have to get high off of it. Just take enough to feel normal and fine. And then, realizing, I know for a fact that that voice is not the voice to listen to. It does not make any sense to keep on taking it just to feel normal. That's fucking stupid. But it was just back and forth, spending so much mental energy to try to turn up the volume on the good voice and logically convince myself that that other voice is not the one to listen to. But fuck, where was I? It's a really tricky thing, and I think that, I've used other things in the past: alcohol, weed, nicotine, other stimulants and stuff. I've prescribed ADD medication, which can be, they're very much a drug that can feel good to be on sometimes, and I've never really had any issue with doing those in moderation or as prescribed. But, they say if you experiment with drugs, eventually you're going to find one that just fits into your brain like a lock and key. And that's the way that kratom is for me. There's something about it, it just fits into my brain and hacks it, and logical thinking, any hope for moderation is just hacked. And it takes a lot of energy and a lot of willpower to steer that car back into the right lane and to stay on it. And yeah, that's the thing with kratom, and the way it works for me is it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a very tricky thing that, anyway, so today's day 0. I used some earlier today, and now I'm out and I'm back home after the holidays. My vacation's done, so I'm back home and I don't have access to kratom anymore. And I'm just kind of mentally preparing and trying to formulate a new game plan for sticking to it. And I'll try to document that. There's so many things that when I'm not talking to a camera I think of and want to say, but then when I sit down in front of a camera it seems to be a lot harder to get it out. So I'm gonna end the video now, but I just want to say again that I'm really grateful for everyone who's commenting, and it's just amazing to see how some of these comments come at a time that speak directly to what I'm going through in that moment, and it's very much appreciated. It gives me a lot of it reminds me that this is the right path, and to anybody that's going through this, we got this. If you fall off, just get back on as best you can. And yeah, moving forward, I'm gonna try to document some of my coping mechanisms that I'm using: meditation and cold plunges and stretching and yoga and things like that. And that's kind of the direction that I'd like to take these videos. I'm doing these videos to share my experience and to help others, but also to practice speaking to a camera and practice verbalizing my ideas and thoughts, and to talk about things that I like and that I love. And so hopefully these videos won't always be about kratom, but I'd like to talk about, things like mental health and addiction and exercise and health and all that stuff. So anyway, thank you again for listening. Thank you again for commenting. And tomorrow's day one. We're getting back on the sober horse. Talk to you later.